still have those pictures? Is that a book? Yes.
John, I'm seeing. All right, good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the June 2nd, 2009 Board of Selectmen meeting. I need a motion for a temporary clerk, please.
John, that clerk is here. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That means I can leave now.
No, that's because
No,
you
I
weren't
don't
here
think
for
so.
executive.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We were in executive, and at that time I needed a clerk, but we suddenly have one, so we're good to go. Could we have the roll?
Yes, you can. Four selectmen are present. Selectman Ekstrom is not here this evening. For the record, she's with our governor on a fundraising thing. So her first meeting since she's been elected, Mr. Chairman, she has missed, but she's with our governor, so that's a good place to be. Also with us is Town Administrator, Mr. Sanjay.
All right, thank you. First order of business will be the Onset Creative Arts Association. Is there someone here to represent? Come on forward, please.
I bring my stuff just quickly.
Did you bring enough for everybody?
I did.
So, what are we doing?
All right, what we're doing is we are having, the Onset Creative Arts Association has started our exhibit, the Common Denominator, which is an exhibit from the community. We have Boys and Girls Club, we have artists in the community, we have lots of non-artists in the community who have submitted things, and school children, homeschool children, and the like, just from all different walks. And we're creating a mosaic that we've started. Julie Taylor is our president. That includes the Wareham seal and the Onset Creative Arts logo, and then various tiles from committees and departments and groups. So we thought it'd be really great to have the Board of Selectmen participate with handprints on a tile that would be featured in the center of the mosaic, which is going to be, I'm thinking it's going to be about 8 feet by 6 feet, but my stuff tends to go.
Is this a way to get our fingerprints?
It's done with ceramic glaze, which it ends up vaguely looking like a handprint, but you probably wouldn't be able to figure it out. And it's all non-toxic and no lead and things like that. And, what I'd like to do, I've got the tile right here, and I've got glaze all poured out. I'd like to get just your hand and the tile, and then I've got stuff to clean up, and you'll be all set to go.
All right, well, I'm sure we'll be happy to cooperate. And
Sounds very exciting.
that's right. Conveniently, she's missing
With the
tonight.
governor.
That's right. Well, we'll get her later. So, Julie, do you want to follow behind with these? The nursery school zone.
Well, you're setting. How much time do you need to set up?
I'm done. I'm set up.
Oh,
ready.
wow,
This will
okay.
take 5 minutes and we'll be done. Do you guys want me to come to you, or is it reasonable to maybe file by?
We'll
Whatever you want to do.
put it there, and we'll line up and give the pour.
I don't know what they are these. These are blues and greens. Pick your color and just kind of get here. Have you ever started with an art project before?
And when I was in kindergarten, I did a lot. Yeah.
Just hand in, and you guys will have to kind of fit your hands around each other too. It's okay to go on top.
Oh, my wife's going to be real upset.
It's not going to get on anything, and if it does, it washes right out.
Okay.
Yeah, just a little. You don't. It takes surprisingly well. So you just kind of put your hand in there like this, and
Swish it around.
yeah, swish it around. I'll do it.
Oh, okay. So it's fine like this.
It's no shit.
It's been like since my first grade that I did this, so.
Perfect. Anywhere you want. Exactly like that. You want to color like that.
Thank you.
Okay.
You bet. to say this is the most fun I've had since I've been on the Board of Selectmen.
Because the only one that's representative of what it is, this is kind of green and these are dark blues, but any color you want.
All right. As long as it's not black.
No black. No black on the stamp pad, no,
Wiggle your hand around, get it all over, get it in between your
Is that
fingers.
enough?
Sure.
My hand's bigger than yours.
I would expect that.
You're so secure, member.
we already have the dossiers, this is all we need.
Is that a flash attachment there?
I'm sorry, thank you, Mr. Whitehouse, I was unaware that that was on.
Forgive the interruption, but I wonder if you know that the mics were live in this room before the meeting, and that it went out all over town. Mr. Cronin, do you mind explaining what you mean by...
Excuse me.
No.
Excuse
We
me.
called...
Don't interrupt this meeting, sir.
You already have.
I'm interrupting you. You're done. Stop it. Do not interrupt this meeting. Thank you.
And good luck with your project.
Thank you. We'll
Thank you.
put forward an image in some way of the finished product so you guys can see it. We really appreciate it. Does anybody need any more wipes? Thank you so much.
They didn't get turned back on until
Okay.
question.
Well, that was fun. And thank you very much. And we'll move on with the agenda. Next order of business will be citizens' participation. Who's here to speak? Sir? Yep.
My name's Jim Eubanks, and I'm with the Council on Aging, and I live on 15 Seawood Road. Saturday, June 20th, we're going to have a Healthy Lifestyles Fair, and it's open to everybody. And we'd like to think, and some of us have really high hopes, to turn some really big numbers. Wareham is full of transients now, or people who came for the summer, and we think we're going to, I don't want to say the exact number, but boy, we have high hopes. Amongst other things, we got the Showstoppers coming from over in New Bedford. That's about 20 young people who performed for the president recently. We've got the South Coast people, coming in to take blood pressure and blood and all kinds of stuff. We got innumerable vendors involved. We got music. We got food. And it's for everybody. And it's going to be a great thing. Now, we really have enough volunteers to open the doors, but we need people to spell the volunteers, so we need some more volunteers. A person could work in the parking. It's going to be complicated to park because it's a giant AA meeting down in the town hall basement, and they've agreed to park a certain way. And so anyway, we need guys to help us on directing parking. And then we're going to have a big raffle, and we need somebody to help Yvonne Stone. And we just need people who do general information. So if anybody on the TV is out there and wants to call in 291-3130 and leave their name, and I'll get back to them. But I would like to think we're going to have 1,000 or more people. I probably shouldn't raise expectations too much, but we have we've got people coming from other towns, and it's going to be quite a thing. And I just hope we can have a situation where we can spell our volunteers and we don't work them to death. Okay.
Thank you
Good.
very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Who's next? Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim. All right, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Right. Hello.
Hi, I'm Jackie Lindsay. I'm Mary Baden.
And I'm Mary Crowley.
And we're part of the Wareham Fireworks Committee. And we came tonight to apprise you of where we're at in terms of raising the money for the fireworks. The event will be scheduled for July 4th. It will be held at Shell Point. We've secured the Atlas Pyro Vision Productions Company for the fireworks themselves. They've received a $5,000 deposit, and they in turn have sent the proper paperwork to Sam Corbett, who's helping to put this thing together. There are various permits required by the town of Wareham and the state of Massachusetts and the Coast Guard that he's working with. He'll also be meeting with Chief Anderson and with Harbor Master Mike Parola in terms of working out whatever has to be done in that aspect. At this juncture, we've raised $14,000 for the fireworks. Our budget is $20,000. So we're still a little bit short, and hoping that we will be able to raise that money between now and the end of the month. We'll continue with our fundraising and hope that the folks who have been very generous will continue. All the donations can be sent to the Wareham Fireworks Committee, 54 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. We're also selling T-shirts, and the design for that came from a contest we held in May, in which the students were required to send us in a design which was then transferred, will be transferred to T-shirts. And the winning design came from a young man by the name of James Demers. And Jackie can give you a little more information.
Yeah, it was a great little contest done by school children, Boys and Girls Club, and we chose a winner, and the T-shirts are being printed now. This is what it will look like. We're selling hats and T-shirts, and they'll retail for $10. They'll be at the Onset Bay Association, the Information Center in Wareham. We're also selling them at Artsiana in Onset, Sail Away Studio on Main Street, and the Old Company Store on Elm Street. Oh, and the Old Company Store has graciously offered to sell candy bars. And for every bar they sell for the month of June, $1 will go towards the fireworks fund.
Very good.
Okay. Great.
Did you wish to have anything? Did you have anything else?
No.
Well, board members?
Thank you very much, ladies, and your committee as well. And I think it's going to be a great event and something good in Wareham.
Yes.
Another good thing. Two good things in a row we've had tonight. This is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else who wants to speak tonight? Mr. Newman, hi.
Thank you, Bruce. And Mr. is still Jim. Mr. is not necessary.
All right, Jim. I appreciate that.
I came up tonight to say thank you, Bruce, for the Memorial Day speech. It was very nice, very good of you.
Well, it was my pleasure.
And the Brenda and Jane for participating in the parade.
It was my privilege, too. Thank you. Thank you, Jim, for putting it
I
together.
hope everybody enjoyed the parade. I enjoyed your speech very much, though, Bruce. I wanted to say publicly thank you for that.
Well, again, it was more than my pleasure, and I enjoy doing it, and I'll be happy to do it anytime.
Now, for Veterans Day, we will be having a parade again, and VFW Onset is going to run that. The commander from the VFW Onset is going to be in charge of that one.
Okay.
I finally was able to step aside. It only took 5 years.
Taking a break, huh? Well, thank you for all your good work, Jim.
Thank you, and if I just might also thank the VFW and Onset, who opened their doors to the public after the parade and put on quite a spread of food. It was very nice.
Okay. Anybody else? Seeing none. Okay. Mr. Clerk, we have, I think, one announcement.
Yep. Announcement, Menders, Torrey, and Spencer will present the final results of the use study for the Tremont Nail Factory this Thursday, June 4th at 6:30 in the Town Hall cafeteria. We encourage everyone who is interested in the town's plan for this site to attend. The Community Preservation Committee hired this group, who specializes in architectural preservation of historical sites, to develop an adaptive reuse concept and plan for the site. This will be a great opportunity for anyone interested in the town's plan for this site to see what the firm is suggesting in the best interest in Wareham. We hope to see you there. June 4th, 6:30 p.m. in the Town Hall cafeteria. Thank you.
It's an important meeting. We're going to be talking about the final disposition of the Tremont Nail, and it either is going to be exceptionally expensive or it's going to be manageable depending upon what the consultants tell us, but this is an important project and an important property, whichever side you come down on, and it would be valuable to have people there to discuss their thoughts. All right, before I go to the consent agenda, I want to just make a brief statement about what's happening currently in the town of Wareham. There's been a great deal of, I've received many phone calls and emails, and I know other board members have as well as the town administrator, Mr. Sanjanet, with respect to the computer audit that is ongoing. And Mr. Sanjanet has put out a press release describing in some detail what exactly is happening, and I won't go further into the details of that audit. All I will simply say is that that audit is a lawful audit, and it is something that the private sector does on a fairly regular basis. It's not shocking or surprising, not where I come from in terms of what I do for work, that this is a regular event. It has never been a regular event in the town of Wareham. I think one of the recommendations that the board will be making in the form of our final report will be that we do adopt policies and procedures and protocols with respect to computer use and townwide, and there will be several other obvious recommendations that will be coming forth at the conclusion. The reason why I'm making this statement is there's been several newspaper articles reported in the Standard Times that, in my opinion, have been completely baseless. And I wanted to correct the record on a couple of key points. The first article was titled, I believe, Board Copies Residential Private Data, or something to that effect, with respect to the assessor's files and records. I can tell you that according to the assessor, and Mr. Sanjanet's conversations directly with him, he has no objection, and nothing of the nature that was reported was either copied, recovered, or searched in those files. Residents should be assured that their private information was in no way accessed and in no way would be used for any particular purpose. This is an employer auditing its own systems to see basically whether or not our employees are in compliance with their use. We are not searching for private data, nor would we ever use that data for any purpose, as I've just said. As far as the next example of journalistic integrity, the title was Town Performs Illegal Search on Library Computers. I'll state again, this is not an illegal search. It is perfectly legal and lawful. It is hoped that all departments would cooperate with this effort, and to my knowledge, all departments have cooperated fully. It was stated that technicians stated to library staff that the Board of Selectmen specifically was looking for our names or something related to our names in the computer activity. The technicians working for this audit firm signed a confidentiality agreement There's no way that any employee of that firm would have made such ludicrous statements, and I find it offensive that they were printed in the press as if they were factual statements rather than what I would consider, again, journalistic integrity. So with that said, we're going to move on. The results of and findings of that audit will be published fully. There's nothing to hide, and we won't hide anything. It will be included in the town report as is required. And we will issue a separate report as a board. We had the full cooperation of the town administrator with the assistance and advice of town council. Again, this was done in a lawful and respectful manner, and I expect the press to act accordingly in the same manner. With that said, Mr. Clerk, can we have the consent agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no bills in front of me, but I have two sets of minutes. April 21st, make a motion to accept the minutes.
Is there a second? Second. There's a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the April 21st minutes?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained?
Abstain.
That's 401. Thank you.
Okay, and the second set is for the meeting of May 12th. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
All right, there's a second. Any discussion? All right, for the May 12th meeting minutes, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thank you.
We have some reappointments. Let's see. I have a reappointment to the Community and Economic Development CEDA Board for Sandra Bessie. I make a motion to renew that appointment.
Second.
We have motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Constables in the town of Wareham. We have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. We have 6 constables in Wareham. Okay. Take them individually, I guess. Gregory Kamon, K-A-M-O-N.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to accept, to appoint him.
To a term to expire?
To a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2010.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay. Next is Robert Terrell, constable for Wareham, to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2010. Make a motion to appoint.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Third is Robert E. Short, as constable for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2010.
Second.
Make a motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous.
Next is Richard Coletti, for a term also to expire June 30th, 2010.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous.
Charles T. Devlin, also constable for the expiration date of June 30th, 2010. Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Unanimous.
And last, for constable in Wareham for a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2010 is, I guess it's Hervey W. Vandal Jr., 216 Rockland Street, New Bedford. Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous.
Okay, we have some Board of Health appointments. First one is for Guy Campiner Sr., appointed you an associate member to the Board of Health, term to expire no later than June 30th, 2010. Make a motion to accept.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thanks.
Okay, the second one is for Diane E. Allen, for an associate member to the Board of Health, to expire no later than June 30th, 2010. Make a motion to appoint.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous.
And the third one?
Mr. Clerk, I may, I would request that we hold off on this particular appointment until we have a full board at the request of Mrs. Ekstrom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's what I have for reappointments, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
That takes care of the consent agenda.
All right, thank you very much. We have no licenses or permits tonight. Could we have the town administrator's report, please?
The first item is the drainage easement on 32 Weaver Street. I had brought this before the board 2 weeks ago. The board had some concerns about the recommended motion. And at this point, I do have the Mylar in my office for the board to sign, as well as I would ask the board to abandon the existing 10-foot wide easement on 32 Weaver Street. I would further ask that the board vote to accept a new easement on the property shown as plan as proposed easement, which will be registered with Plymouth County Registry of Deeds, and vote to sign the Mylar as presented, or as it sits in my office.
Who drew the plan, the proposed easement?
I believe it's
Who's it?
this is the property owner.
Yes, sir. Outback Engineering. Well, Mr. St. John, the plans that we have before us continue to show the easement under the existing garage, and, oh, I see, the proposed easement
Should show both.
eliminates it, and, okay. All right, I understand. Was there anything else on that?
Other than the motion to approve abandoning and accepting the new easement.
Make a motion to abandon the old and accept the new, per the
Second.
drawing.
All right, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous. Thank you.
The next item is I would ask the board to approve usage of the Affordable Housing Trust Funds. Mr. Heaton has met the obligations as outlined in the agreement and has invoiced us for $28,243, which is the amount of his contract. I will be forwarding to the board an amendment to his agreement to continue the project moving forward. I would recommend the motion to approve the appropriation of funds from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to pay H&H Associates for consulting services for the Westfield project in the amount of $28,243.63.
All right, I got a couple of questions. The original RFI that went out was for what?
The original was for $15,000. It was amended up to this figure, plus reimbursable amounts.
So, the stage that we're at now, the presentation that Mr. Heaton made the other night, to go forward with this, to start to go to all the other boards and commissions, which a letter went out, I saw that go out, or ready to go out, and then to go to town meeting and all, is above and beyond that contract, is what you're
Yes,
telling
sir.
me. Well, then I'm glad he's here tonight, because I think we should talk about the cost of that to go on from there, because I was under the impression that that was part of it, but I guess I'm mistaken.
All right, is there a motion?
Well, make a motion to pay the bill thus far, but I think we need to have further discussion on future work.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Thank you.
I'm apologize to the board for the delay in getting you this report, but the GASB 45 actuarial report was received mid-April. GASB 45 is relative to our future health insurance costs for all town employees and retirees as they move forward through the system. The study showed that the town has an $83 million unfunded health insurance liability fund based on the current employment and current retirees. This is based on if all employees lived to their potential life expectancy. Eventually, the town will need to look into funding this but the Government Accounting Board will issue further standards and will outline how we should fund this in the future. Memorial Day weekend, I was very concerned about the outcome due to the reduction in staff, but I would like to commend all the staff at the Municipal Maintenance and Mr. Gifford for their hard work. They performed prior to Memorial Day weekend to ensure that the cemeteries were in good condition. I think they were in outstanding condition based on my review. And I want to commend all these hardworking individuals over there because they spent many hours getting the cemeteries and the parks in good condition and replacing all the flags.
I'd like to add my commendations to them as well. It was very nicely done, and they are working hard.
Okay.
Senior work-off program, it started Memorial Day weekend and will continue weekends until school lets out, as well as the parking attendants at the pier will continue to work on weekends until school lets out. At that time, it'll be daily. COA Director Marshall Griswold has indicated that she certainly needs more volunteers to cover the entire summer. We didn't start last year until the 1st of July, so it was easier in scheduling, but if anyone out there is looking to get a tax credit, senior out there who's looking to get a tax credit and sit at the beach approximately 6 to 8 hours a week, they should contact the COA director and sign up for this program. They can earn up to $750 credit on their property taxes. I've interviewed 2 candidates with the assistance of Ms. Ekstrom, Mr. Foster from the Treasurer's Office, and Mr. Cheevers from the Finance Committee for the town accountant. I have one more person to interview, and hopefully I'll have made a decision early next week on who to hire.
Well, can I ask a question on that, please?
Yes, sir.
I'm under the impression that there were 5 resumes for the accountant position, and 2 of them have backed out.
Overall there were 12 resumes. These are the best 5 that I planned on interviewing, and of those 5, yes, 2 people have dropped out.
Well, my suggestion would be to re-advertise the position. That's my suggestion, Mr. Chairman. Okay.
The Webster Hall hearing is tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. in Boston. Chairman Savageau and myself will be attending this hearing along with Rich Bowen to present the town's arguments. And finally, I recently have met with a concerned citizen regarding the floodplain maps that are issued regularly by the federal government determining where the 100-year floodplain is. Any resident that is interested in reviewing these maps should do so at the Inspectional Services Department. They can make comments, they can offer their concerns. Basically, you would write your concerns right on the map so that the federal government can see that they may have mistaken in their drawing of these lines. I will also be discussing with Mr. Miziazik to see if the town needs to provide any additional commentary before we submit these maps back to the federal government. Final maps probably will not be available until late next spring.
Okay.
Sewer business, I would ask the board, I have a sewer abatement request, account number 735-720-53 of 53 South Boulevard, map 1, lot 15A. I would ask the board to approve abating this account for the first 4 months, or for 4 months of second half of FY09. Sewer user fee in the amount of $584 for 2 EDUs. The account was abated October 7, 2008, but was not put on hold. It has been verified that the water line was cut and capped March 26, 2008. Motion for the board to abate account 735270 for the second half FY09 user fee in the amount of $584.
So moved.
All in favor?
You'd have a second, right?
I'm sorry. Was there a second?
Yes.
Oh. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
3-0-0.
Okay.
I have a second sewer abatement request, account number 735811 58 West Boulevard off, map 1, lot 685B. The board is asked to approve abating the account for the first half FY09 sewer user fee in the amount of $243.30. The water was shut off September 5th, 2007. The abatement covers September 2008 through January 31, 2009. I would ask for a motion for the board to abate account 735811 for the first half of FY09 user fee in the amount of $243.30.
Be for the second half of '09 is what you have here, and I would make a motion to approve.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, it's unanimous. Thank you.
And my final item, excuse me, I have a third sewer abatement request, account number 736981, 8 Commonwealth Avenue, map 13, lot 1031A. The board is asked to approve abating this account for the second half of fiscal year '09 sewer fee in the amount of $292. The account is abated October 7, 2008, but was not put on hold. It has been verified that the water service is not available to this property. I would ask for a motion from the board to abate account 736981 for the second half of FY09 in the amount of $292.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained.
And that's all I have for this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sanjanet. All right, next order of business is a very happy note and something that the board has been anticipating for some time and working towards for quite a few months. And that is we'd like to publicly introduce our new CETA director, Mr. Chris Riley. And Chris, why don't you come on up and have a seat? And I'd like to invite the CETA board as well to come on up. All right. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm very excited and very happy to announce that Mr. Riley is joining us as our Community and Economic Development Director. The position's been vacant now for some time, I think 5 months perhaps, 4 or 5 months. And we did a fairly exhaustive search. We received quite a few resumes, and we, the board, conducted interviews, and I believe we had 5 finalists. And Mr. Riley, in our opinion, was by far the most qualified of those 5 candidates based on his education, his training, his experience, the projects that he has been involved in, and again, we're just tremendously proud and happy to have a man of this caliber join our staff with the town. And now that I've thoroughly embarrassed him, what I would like to do, if it's okay, Chris, is just have you just make a brief comment about your new position. Tell us a little bit publicly about your background, education, your experience, where you're coming from, some of the type of projects that would be directly related to the CETA function, and then we'd like to talk to the CETA board as well. So it's official. He started, day before yesterday as his first day. So how much money have you made us so far? Nothing? All right.
Thank you for those very kind words, Mr. Chair, and it's also very exciting for me to be here. In terms of my background, I started professionally working in the planning and economic development field for the city of Quincy here in the South Shore. I worked there for about 7 years on a variety of projects: public works, public facilities, economic development, and grant administration. And then I transitioned into the planning director job for the town of Reading, and I worked there for 4 years during a very busy, intensive period of commercial and residential development. I then had the opportunity to go up to the North Shore, the town of Salisbury, which is somewhat similar to the town of Wareham, equally as beautiful. They had a potential project up there that, at last report, it was on the order of $1 billion worth of investment. It would have been the largest project on the eastern seaboard. Whether that project moves forward is in doubt right now. So when this opportunity presented itself, I certainly did my homework. I did my research. I think this is an exciting professional opportunity. I think it's a great community to work in, and I think the folks I've spoken with, particularly the Board of Selectmen, I've spoken with several of you individually, certainly I think I have the opportunity here to work with a great team and do great things, and this is an exciting but challenging time. But certainly I know I'm up to it. I know I have the experience that you're looking for, and have the professional skills to try to achieve both of our mutual goals and the goals of the residents. So I'm excited about the position. I have great staff, everybody across the board that I've met, and I've met most people, although I can't remember every name and face quite yet, but certainly I think the town of Wareham has some great people working for it, and I look forward to working with the Board of Selectmen on a great team trying to achieve our mutual goals.
Oh, thank you very much. Real briefly, tell us your educational background.
Sure. I attended Rutgers University in New Jersey, and I went on to the graduate school there in the planning and geography programs, in the master level geography and planning programs, and then started my career professionally in planning and economic development in Quincy. So it's been a fairly extensive career. Certainly had experience with the type of projects in the pipeline here, some of the projects you've reviewed, some of the development initiatives, large and small. So I do believe have the breadth of experience to serve the residents of Wareham well. I've done big commercial projects, but I've done very small residential projects. I've done affordable housing projects, pretty much soup to nuts. So I do think I have the ability to serve you well. I know you have a lot of initiatives you want to pursue, and I certainly look forward to working on those with you.
Excellent. Any board members?
Well, I'd just like to say it's about time you got up here. But welcome to the town of Wareham, and we look forward to doing some great things. There's quite a few projects that are in the works, and I'm sure you'll jump right in and continue with them. So congratulations on coming to Wareham.
Thank you. I look forward to serving the board, the residents, and the CETA board as well.
Okay. Anybody else?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, any comments?
Well, on behalf of the CETA board members, we'd like to welcome Chris, and we're looking forward to working with him. In fact, we've had a brief meeting with him this evening, and I thought we had a really exciting half hour of discussion, and we're looking forward to really digging in and getting some meetings going this month and moving forward. Perhaps, Sandy, do you have anything to add to after meeting the director tonight?
We were very impressed with him when he was here for the interviews, and we had an opportunity tonight to talk with him, and I'm very excited about his excitement and about his openness and about his wanting to look into all of the things we discussed with him. So we're looking forward to a very, very positive time. Thank you.
And he's a good-looking guy, too. Thank you. So we got the whole package. Chris is going to be very an integral part of... all right, calm down. I'm trying to be serious here. Chris is going to be an integral part of our vision for the future as far as economic development, development in the area of quality, affordable, and dignified housing, especially for our seniors. Chris is going to be important as we address 40B and reaching our threshold requirement as a community to forestall the type of development that we don't want in favor of the development that we do want. And he will work closely with developers, for example, the 80 Makepeace Company with respect to the Business Development Overlay District, which I hope finally we will start seeing some activity with, as well as other ADM project schemes that I know are at least on paper. And he'll be important in developing our tax base as a result. So we are pro-development in the sense that it is managed, it's quality, it is beneficial to the community, it's the type of development that we want and need, and we are not in favor of any other form of development that burdens the community. And I know Chris is particularly skilled in the areas that we need him for. So once again, we're very proud and very happy to have Mr. Riley, and we look forward to really great things.
Thank you.
All right, back to work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. All right, the next area is relevant to what we just discussed. We're going to have our consultant, Mr. Heaton, back before us this evening to discuss several areas of issue with respect to the project that we are looking forward to, which is the Westfield Senior Affordable Rental Program with assisted living. Mr. Heaton, I received your request and your detail as to what we're going to be discussing. So I won't go into it any further. You can take it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking forward to working with Chris also, but I think it will be really good. We can make a good team and help you implement the project the way you envision it being implemented. The purpose of my discussion this evening is to ask you to, if you're ready to approve putting some time frames on developing the RFP, getting it out to developers so that you can get proposals back. So what I'd like to do is to review a suggested schedule with you and ask if you want to modify it or make any recommendations to change it. I also would like to suggest that at the last meeting that we had last week, you indicated you wanted to roll this out to a set of boards in town and make it visible, and I think that's appropriate, and we're ready to do that. And
did you, by the way, I know we did not have a chance to talk before this meeting, but you received the draft outline of the letter of introduction to the departments. Have you had a chance to look it over, and is that acceptable?
That looks great, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I would attach the summary of the project to the note, but I would think that's it. That's perfect to go out.
All right, very good. Then I'll get that going tomorrow morning.
That'd be great. What is in this note that I've given you is basically 3 sections. The first section are the modifications that you asked me to make to the project plan at the last meeting. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but you basically, we reviewed the RFP, and you identified some areas that you wanted me to make modifications to, and I've made those modifications. The RFP is now ready to be posted on the website, and it's ready to be distributed to any local boards, individuals, or committees, departments that would like to receive it. And that probably will happen sometime this week. Yeah. I think it's important to get this out and get other people in town to look at it. As I indicated to you, I've made a lot of assumptions in putting the plan together. I believe they're correct, but it's much better to get it from the experts in the community, conservation, planning, ZBA, FinCom, CONCOM, and have them review it and make adjustments to it as appropriate. So that should be happening over the next several weeks. There are a set of issues that I would recommend that each one of the respective departments focus on within the community. And as we meet with them, I'm going to run through these real quickly because these are the things that I think the different committees in town should look at and make sure they're comfortable with. The first is a school committee. We want to meet with the school committee to understand whether or not they would support putting in sewer for an eventual school that would go at one of the two sites on Charlotte Furnace Road. So that would be a discussion that we'd have for them, whether it makes sense to. I mean, let me say it differently. It does make sense if they're going to if you're going to put a sewer in for the affordable housing project to provide capacity for an eventual school in the future. The second is to review with the Community Preservation Committee and the Finance Committee, make them aware of what's happening, make them aware that there will be a request that will be presented to them for approval and eventually presented to the town meeting for approval, and go through the finances of the project and indicate how it would affect the town. What are the taxes that would be received? What are the costs that the town would incur? And what is the bottom line financials? The third area is to review with the zoning board and the planning board. This type of project would need a set of permits. As I read the bylaws, this possibly could be approved with a special permit issued by the zoning board, but the zoning board and the planning board may want to do a comprehensive permit. So that's a discussion that we need to have with them to see what their preference is. The Conservation Commission needs to be reviewed. We need to discuss the project with them to make sure they're comfortable with what's happening with the groundwater. I've met with the Council on Aging and the Housing Authority, but we want to make sure that they're comfortable with what's being proposed and that there is a need for this type of project in the community. The Sewer Department and the Water Department, I've had discussions with CDM, have had discussions with the Water Department. They have reviewed the draft in the RFP, and I believe they're comfortable with it, but we ought to make sure that that's all the issues have been addressed. And finally, most importantly, the neighbors for the project. We want to go through the project with them in detail to make sure they understand it, they understand what the impact will be, and that they're comfortable with it. So there's quite a bit of work to be done over the next several months, and it's my experience that this upfront selling will make the project much better. People will make suggestions and recommendations that will improve the project. At the same time, they will take ownership of implementing the pieces that are important to them.
Very good. What do you need from us tonight?
The third page is the schedule. What I did was started with the what I believe will be the date for the Wareham Town Meeting in October, and backed into it and assigned time periods that would involve activities that would take place between now and then, so that you could have a set of issues in front of the town meeting and have a good representation of the project. What I'd like to do is I'd like to post the RFP, the draft RFP, the way it is on the website immediately, and I think that'll happen this week. I'd like to post the final RFP on the website on June 12th, which is just 10 days away. That will be published in the Central Register on the 17th and will be distributed to about at least 18 developers who will get a copy of the RFP and start to make a determination whether or not they want to submit a proposal. Assuming they do, there would be a bidders conference on July 8th. That would be probably Mr. Sanjanet and I. Mr. O'Reilly would host this bidders conference. It would be an opportunity for the potential bidders, to ask any questions. There would be a site walk where we'd go look at the site and make sure they're comfortable with it. What I'm suggesting is that we give the developers 7 weeks to evaluate the proposal and come back with a formal response on July 31st. That would be, the responses would come to Mr. Sanjanet. They tend to be quite lengthy proposals, and they would then need to be evaluated. I will be coming back to you suggesting that you may want to create an evaluation committee. You clearly want to make the decision for the town, but you may want to put together an evaluation committee made up of some of the people that we visit: finance, Concom, planning, whatever it is you feel appropriate. The evaluation committee would go through all the proposals, and they would make a recommendation to you as to what you what they believe is the best proposal for the town. Or maybe they'll make 3 recommendations, or whatever you decide. But there is a very, very extensive evaluation period. It tends to take about 3 to 4 meetings over a 4-week period. It's something that you clearly could do as a board. It's just a question of whether or not you want to dedicate that much time to it to do it.
It's a good idea.
We don't need to do that. We don't need to make that decision now, but it is a decision we would make sometime in the July period, I suspect. The target would be to select a developer by the 7th of September, and then that's approximately the time I think we need to submit warrants. It's in that time period. And we would know exactly what the warrant would be, what it would say, and what the wording would be around that time, and then hold the town meeting on October 26th. The developer would be available to make a presentation at the town meeting if you wanted to, or would be available to make presentations before the town meeting to interested boards. So the three key dates that I'd like your approval on tonight is issue the final RFP on June 12th, get responses on July 30th, and target review at the town meeting the end of October.
Okay. Do you want that in the form of a motion?
If that would be your preference, yes.
All right. Will somebody make a motion?
So moved.
The 3 dates again?
June 12th to issue the RFP, July 30th to have responses back, and target review at the town meeting the end of October.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Thank you very much, Mr. Heaton. Chris, do you have any comments at this point?
No, it looks like a good outline.
Okay.
Dick, when are you away?
The last 2 weeks in June.
I made a mistake in my memorandum. I wrote the first 2 weeks. So we're not going to be able to do the presentations until July.
If the board, with the board's permission, maybe Chris and I could meet before then. I think it's appropriate that I could start passing off some of the things I've been doing to Chris, if you're available. We could meet for a couple hours and go through the whole project, break it down in a little more detail, and come back with you with the plan as to what we would do.
Okay.
Then we wouldn't waste the 2 weeks.
Excellent. Well, maybe we can do some preliminary rollouts.
Right.
During that time. Okay. Did you have anything else, Mr.
No,
Heaton?
sir.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for your excellent work. Look forward to working with both Chris and you on this project, and hopefully this time it'll happen.
Thank you.
We have a request by an architectural firm, Stephen Kelleher Architects, to come before the board and discuss a matter concerning some property, as I understand it, in the adjacent vicinity of the Agawam Village Wareham Housing Authority property. Is anybody here? Yes. Could you come forward, please? Introduce yourselves for the record and speak directly into the microphones, please.
My name is Nazi El-Khalasi. I'm a developer. Steve Kelleher, Stephen Kelleher Architects.
Ed Sargent, Stephen Kelleher Architects.
All right, gentlemen.
We have copies for the board.
Sure.
And I'll pass out some cards also.
Okay.
Nice to see you again.
Just by way of introduction, you were the...
Eddie.
We have an extra one? I'm allowed.
No, I do.
Eddie, did you give him one of those?
Mr. Hall, do you want to join us?
Okay.
by way of introduction, my understanding is you were the architects that did the downtown study as well.
Yes, we're in the process of doing that also.
I'm glad Mr. Hall is here.
Well, I usually am here at meetings, so I don't know about this myself. So
well, that's my question, actually. Because I didn't get any notice from the Housing Authority that they were coming or that they were aware of this discussion. Did you have a chance to speak to them first?
We haven't spoken for probably over a year. We were in contact. We were hired in 2006 to do a master plan study for Agawam, and basically the study in the RFP was to look at 1 acre of land that was originally going to be used for the septic system, subdividing that parcel of land off and doing anywhere from 8 to 12 units of housing. During our master plan study, we came up with a plan for 16 units that met zoning and met all the requirements of the town. The Housing Authority looked at the project and they went, wow, this is quite exciting. We can get much more than we expected. And the original RFP called for not only for us to look at the master planning aspect, but also there was a second phase to that, and that was the possibility of creating a developer for this project. Unfortunately, there were only funds enough under the RFP to do the first phase, which was the master plan study. We did the master plan study. As I said, it was well received. We did some additional work, which was actually to master plan how we might phase in taking all the buildings out of Agawam Village and creating a whole new village over a 5-10 year period. As far as I know, that was taken to Department of Housing and Community Development. It never got funded, and the project just died.
Who filed the application?
That wasn't part of our work. Our work was just to do the master planning portion, and we completed our contract, and the project is just kind of languished. So, in conversation with Nazi recently, we said there's a project that's out there that may be able to go to a developer and be able to be developed to help Wareham meet its housing needs, which I believe are fairly sizable. So this evening we're coming just as an informational thing to kind of bring the board up to speed where we're at. Nazi is interested or possibly interested in being a developer. Team with us as architects to take this project on. The town of Fairhaven right now is doing a similar project on an acre of land in Fairhaven, trying to get, instead of the Housing Authority owning and managing the property, having a developer do that. This is happening in other towns. You have a new community development planner that was just introduced. There are some funds around for these kinds of properties, for these kind of developments. And we just wanted to come and open discussion back up with the town to see if we could get something moving in this direction.
Well, there's certainly nothing wrong with dialogue anytime. I just want to request that you immediately after this discussion contact the Housing Authority officially to discuss your presentation with us, because the Board of Selectmen has no authority or jurisdiction over Housing Authority property. We are, if this comes in the form of a 40B, then we are the local authority as far as a local initiative would be concerned, and the ultimate legal authority is, of course, the ZBA. But as far as our authority on a project of this scope, It's not our property, it's theirs, and so they certainly need to be an integral part of any proposals and discussions, so I would just make that request.
That's well received. We're just trying to open up a dialogue and
Absolutely.
and trying
No
to get
problem.
this thing moving forward.
And on your copy list, you might want to include the CETA board as well as the ZBA.
Bruce, may I say something?
Certainly.
One thing which people need to do is talk to the DHT, Department of Housing Community Development. They're our bosses.
So
We're in constant contact with DHCD.
Now that we've got
we do
the-
work with them
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Understood. Now that we got the protocol out of the way, maybe you can enlighten us as to the project itself.
All right. Ed, if we'll take you through the building and the plans that we did so that the board will have an idea of what can be accomplished with that site.
Sure.
Looking at the site plan, which is the first page, the site exists right here. This is approximately 1 acre that was surveyed by GAF Engineering, and as Steve mentioned, that the RFP was looking for no more up to 12 units, not less than 8, and we developed various schemes for the housing authority, and this was the final scheme that was developed. If you, this does utilize the existing driveway as a right-of-way also to the property, but includes a new entryway off of Sandwich Road to access the parking. Parking was 1 space per unit. The building plan and elevations are on the next page. It's a fairly simple plan. It's a single loaded corridor. The corridor gains daylight, which allows daylight into the units on the south side. There's an elevator and an entry lobby. There's a perspective view we show here. This second floor plan and a typical unit, the kitchens are accessible, the baths are accessible. So they're designed for elderly housing. A typical unit is 650 square feet, 1 bedroom. The units are virtually identical, with the exception of the corner unit, which varies a little bit. And then on the last page, when we gave this plan to the housing authority and the committee, they said, "Gee, we could move our people from the existing Agawam Village into this building, and then rehab the entire Agawam Village." And one option for doing that was to actually build new buildings in the existing Agawam Village. So we provided this option for them to look at, and I think that if I speak, my understanding is that the idea of being able to do that made the development idea not so. They wanted more to be able to do it themselves because it would enable them to redevelop the existing Agawam Village. Mm-hmm. So the development part of it kind of wasn't that interesting to them. Plus, it wasn't included in our fee, the RFP for development.
So basically, that work concluded basically in 2006, and the plan has been kind of sitting dormant since then. Mm-hmm. And we thought about the needs of the community and said maybe we can come and meet with selectmen and get this moving again. As the master plan shows, that the first phase, we not only could have 16 units instead of the original 8 that they thought of, but if you do the whole development, you could double the number of elderly housing you have in this area.
Double?
Double.
What would that total?
72.
72?
Yeah.
It's all senior?
All senior.
All countable under DHCD?
Yeah.
If you go 3 stories.
And if we went 3 stories, which is feasible also, it would raise it up to about 100.
100 total senior?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So there's a lot of opportunity as on this site. We were only asked to do a little bit, and we got to thinking there's a lot more you could do, and so we're just bringing it out to the board that these things are feasible, and we're willing to look into them with you if the opportunity arises.
Well, we can certainly discuss it in the form of a LIP with the cooperation and partnership of the Housing Authority, again, with that proviso. But we are seeking senior housing, affordable housing in the community. That is true. Nazi, did you have anything to add?
No, I think it's, when they talk to me about it, I think it's a great location. Due that the closeness to the hospital, to the EMS downtown, and the bus stops there, the OWL, I think it's a great project. It'll be a win-win for everybody.
Mr. Hall, did you want to make any comment as a representative?
Yeah, sewer, water.
Okay. Board members?
I got just a couple of questions. Mr. Hall, maybe you can help me out with it. The original RFP is for a schematic, number one, to look and see if something would fit on that little parcel of land, and number two, 8 to 12 units and a schematic to what would happen. What I hear from the architect is that when you looked at the new building, then you decided that you might want to rehab or tear down and redo the places that are down there. What happened to this thing? How did it die?
Well, my best information I had, the state said, well, they didn't want any, after that project over in Fall River, where they tore down an affordable housing, they didn't want to tear down any housing. That's the last I heard.
The last time I talked to Pam, which was probably 2 years ago, some of those units down there really need to be rehabbed anyway. So
They're 40, they're 40, 45 years old now.
Well,
and they're showing their age.
Yeah.
They can see it.
Well, I would suggest that the architect and the developer get together and go meet with the housing board and the DHCD. And if we can help you, I'm more than glad to help you. But I think it's going to be developer's going to have to come up with some money on this one. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Mrs. Cruz? Mrs. Donahue?
On the surface of it, it appears to be a, perfect timing and the perfect need on even the 16 additional units, but rehabbing the other sections of the housing, I think that's good too. If we can get the Housing Authority on board, which they seem to be before, and DHCD.
May I, Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
Go ahead.
And also, plus we do have a community preservation committee funds coming on that committee also.
Yes, sir.
Well, like Steve said, this is like a kind of introduction to the project. We didn't mean to step on somebody's toes.
No,
we didn't know where to go first. That's why we came here.
No
I hope the housing authority don't get. We didn't know where to go first, but I'm sure we'll contact them and stuff.
It's no problem.
I'm here to suit out things if they watch this today.
Okay.
What I would suggest is that you contact the Housing Authority officially, go see them, make your presentation, come back with them to us and make an official application for a LIP project, and then we're introduced into the project and we can take it from there.
Can we discuss it with the new guy, Chris, also?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, good.
Good. Excellent.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you for coming, and we'll see where we can go with this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to come out of order and have Mr. Judici, so we don't tie him up all night. Hi. Mr. Judici, of course, is our engineering consultant with the firm of CDM, and he's making his monthly report to us. Yes, sir. Thanks. How are you? All right, how are you, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very well, thank you. Mike Judici from CDM. As you mentioned, it sounds like the intent would to have us down the first meeting every month, and just want to clarify
If
that.
that is convenient for you, we'd
Sure.
definitely like to get back on a regular schedule because our projects are heating up, and
Sure.
It's important to keep the public informed as well as the board.
Absolutely. Either myself or Tom Casey,
Sure.
or at some point
Whatever's-
Jim
whatever's
Broder
best.
would be down. So, okay. So quickly run through the status of each of the contracts, and obviously feel free to jump in with any questions or comments. Contract 1, which includes Linwood Lad, Tempest Knob, and Parkwood Beach, began construction the second week of May on the 11th. Currently, they have 2 crews working. The first crew had started at the intersection of Bayside Ave and Parkwood Beach, heading toward Ivy Street. It was very slow going there. They had issues with dewatering, which isn't unexpected. They have since turned on Ivy, and they're heading up Ivy toward Parkwood. The intent is to come back in with a more robust dewatering system, probably some deep wells along Bayside, get the groundwater to a manageable level, and then get back onto Bayside, heading over to Larch. Excuse me. The second crew had completed the force main that would tie the Parkwood Beach pumping station into the Oak Street area. They've completed the force main on Indian Neck Road. That crew has since moved over to Oak Street to put the gravity sewer in, starting down at the boat ramp, heading toward Indian Neck. So they're making their way up the street. There's actually going to be a third crew that's coming into town, I believe, next Monday. And the intent is to start over on Linwood Ave, about halfway down the street, across from where the pumping station will be located, and heading toward the cul-de-sac. There have been notices put up on the town website. I haven't had a chance to check them frequently, John, so I'm not sure how that's working out, or if you need more information from us in order to keep those more current, or I'm not sure how that process is. Okay. Just one quick mention of an issue that had come up in the first few weeks of construction. As you know, this project is qualified for stimulus funds. One of the provisions of that stimulus package included a Buy American clause. As we had talked about previously, we didn't find out that this actually made the list for stimulus projects until the night before we opened bids, so that we weren't able to include any of those provisions in the contract documents. So there was some concern in terms of what the provision would actually mean, because no one seemed to really know what the language was going to be and how it would impact the construction project. It got to the point where we were getting daily updates from DEP, and they were in contact with the EPA. In the end, EPA passed a waiver for any project that had started the bidding process prior to passage of the stimulus bill on February 17th. And this project was one of those projects. So we did get a waiver from that Buy American provision. The contractor did have to go out in the first couple of weeks of the project and actually buy some American-made pipe. The pipe that he had ordered for this contract was actually made in Canada, the PVC pipe. So we did not want to risk having him install some non-American-made pipe if that waiver didn't actually go through. So he worked with us and went out and purchased American-made pipe, installed that for the first few weeks, and then as of last week that waiver passed, so it's not an issue at this point. Just a quick update on appraisals and easements. I did speak with Mr. Deshays earlier today. He informed me that all of the easements have been recorded at the registry. He still has to make official notification to the property owners. I think there was a discussion of the Habitat for Humanity signing the release. I don't think that's happened yet, but it sounded like they were in agreement. I'm not so sure the other property and for the Parkwood Beach pumping station, not sure the status of that, and Mark wasn't either. So hopefully those will be forthcoming.
Excuse me, Mr. Sanjanit, do you have any information on that?
I've spoken to both parties. In particular, the was it Parkwood Beach property owner? He had a lot of concerns about the removal of trees and those items. He had some concern about the amount, and I was going to sit down with Mr. Juicy to talk about that, Mr. Deshays, and meet with him again. But other than that, I've heard no indication of any real problems with those items.
What about the Minot Forest area?
The pump station. We want, if you're going to update on that, I have no additional information. I think we've met with, or the contractor and CDM are going to meet with the Minot Forest Group and the residents to determine the best location of that pump station. I believe it's going to be closer to the middle than to one side.
Correct.
And the access will be in the most, the least intrusive spot.
Does that impact the project as far as cost in any way?
No. Yeah, I mean, we had some flexibility in terms of where on that parcel we could put the pumping station, and we had already had conversations about sliding it more toward the middle so it gets screened on either end a little bit better. So Jim Broder actually met with some of the members of the Forest Committee, and they worked out at least a preliminary layout of where made the most sense for all parties involved. So
okay, thanks.
We should be all set with that. One last issue on Contract 1. There was discussion and direction from the board several months ago about doing some sampling over at the treatment plant related to the installation of the Linwood Ave pumping station and associated force main. We actually have staked those borings out, and the drillers will be there either on Friday or Monday to do that sampling and analysis on that site. So it'll be a couple of weeks after the samples are collected, and hopefully we don't have any issues over there. I don't know if there are any other questions or comments on Contract 1.
No.
Contract is moving along pretty well. As I said, I'll have 3 crews in next week, so they'll start making a lot of progress.
Any getting much inquiries by the residents at this point from the resident supervisor?
Yeah, actually, Chris Sharp is our resident engineer for this project. We have actually 2 people down. Chris is the lead. Jim Broder will be coming down. And yeah, I mean, we get calls about dust and noise, which you would expect, and we do whatever we can to address those issues. There was a call into DEP a couple of weeks ago. Someone had complained about dust around the contractor's yard. I'm not sure if you're aware, but the contractor made an agreement with the Parkwood Beach Association for use of their parcel on the intersection of Parkwood Beach and Parkwood Drive, and Diamond Avenue. So there were some concerns about dust from the vehicles coming in and out of there. So they've since been addressed. They've got street sweepers, they've got water, they've got calcium chloride. So that they're addressing that issue as best they can, and we haven't heard anything since then.
Okay.
So.
Number 2.
Contract 2, the long-awaited Mass Highway permit was issued last month, so that was a big hurdle to get over finally. Avenue A pumping station. We had talked the last time I was in, I believe in March, about some alternatives for that station location, and the direction from the board was to get, we had an alternative site that was across Avenue A. There was a possible location for the station. I was under the impression that the board had that information in terms of the appraisal of that alternative parcel, and according to Mr. Deshays today, it sounded like he didn't have it. Okay. So he was trying to track that down. He was under the impression as well that that had been submitted to the town for your review. I haven't seen it.
Do we need to do anything with that?
Well, at some point, that was going to help in your decision-making process, just to not to go through the whole discussion again, but the original site up on the corner of Avenue A and Route 6 was going to be very visible from the street, especially given that we had to mound up the area So we looked at an alternative site across Avenue A. The question came up, what would be the difference in the appraised values of those easements? So that's when the direction was given to get that second appraisal done. And once you get that, that'll help make that decision in terms of
I guess what I meant was, but where are we with that second appraisal, John?
I'm waiting to receive it. I've spoken to Mr. Deshays. Once I get it, I'll bring it to the Board of Selectmen. I'll, again, call him tomorrow and push him to get that to us so we can bring it next week.
As I said, we had discussions about it today. He thought you had it as well. He was trying to get a hold of it from the appraiser. It's supposedly done, but it doesn't seem to have made its way to the town for whatever reason.
All right. We'll wait for it.
So I can, once you get it, I can sort of follow up with a quick summary letter or something to help refresh everyone's memory, or at least refer to my original letter that addressed that issue. We've had various discussions with Mass Coastal about the railroad crossing on Indian Neck Road. We've pretty much come to agreement on what's going to be required there, so we have to make one final submittal and get their sign-off, and that'll happen in the next week or so. The easement plans have been prepared and it's submitted to Mr. Deshays. He's working on his end. The appraisals are in process. I'm not sure their status. He didn't have an update from the appraiser on whether or not those were completed or not, but we'll push them along on that as well. So at this point, if everything goes okay with Mass Coastal and we can get some direction on the Avenue A pumping station, we could potentially advertise this contract by the end of this month and get it out on the street and opened in July, and then start construction by early fall.
Okay.
Contract 3, we've been evaluating moving forward on that alternative force main route for the Agawam Beach pumping station. The survey has been completed. We've started the permitting. The Chapter 91 waterways license has been submitted. The notice of project change to MIPA has been submitted. The core permit will be going in this week, and then we'll follow up with the notice of intent to Concom as well. The drilling for that force main has actually started as of today. They were doing some drilling up on Flint Street and Gladstone Ave. We had discussions today with the harbor master and Dave Pichette at Conservation to address their concerns with drilling in Sunset Cove. We've talked about before, we're going to do 2 borings over water to support the directional drill from Agawam over to Flint. The harbor master and Dave are satisfied that the drilling is going to be done in a manner that will not have an adverse impact on the waterway. So the plan is to have that, it's going to be a barge-mounted drill rig. Again, they'll be doing 2 borings, likely out there either Thursday or Friday of this week, and then finishing up the first of next week. Similarly, we've sort of lumped all this drilling together. Mayflower Ridge, last time we talked about a potential alternative route over there, going over to the Tremont Nail property for the force main from Mayflower. So we're doing 2 additional borings on either side of the river up in that area as well. So that will be completed late this week or early next week as well. So that then we can come back and give you the findings and further discuss whether that's a feasible alternative route for the force main rather than going out in Cranberry Highway. The easement plans for Contract 3, at least the first preliminary plans have been completed, and those have been reviewed, and the next step will be handing those off to Mr. Deshays. So pending the permitting, everything seems to be on schedule to what we had talked about last time, to get this out to bid probably sometime in the fall, with the anticipation that we could start construction the break of the spring next season, next construction season for Contract 3.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Thank you. Board members, any questions? All right. At your next presentation, we'd like to start getting into cost breakdown, where we are in our side of the house as far as the expenses for CDM's work and where we're expending on the project side as well. If we could get that as well, please.
Sure, we can give you update. By then, we should have, probably only have one pay requisition, possibly two from the contractor, but we can.
Yeah, I'm more concerned at this, obviously, there's no activity, no billing, but where we are with CDM.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have anything else, Mr. Judici?
No.
Mr. Sanjanet, do you have anything else? All right, well, thank you for your update. It's greatly appreciated, and thanks for your good work.
Sure, thank you. Thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much. Thanks.
Okay, we'll start with any other town business, and I'll start to my right. Mrs. Donahue, do you have anything?
No, I have nothing tonight, thank you.
All right, Mr. Cronin?
Nothing.
Mr. Cruz? I have just one matter that I discussed with Mr. Sanjanet Monday morning. First of all, I have regularly scheduled meetings with Mrs. Sanjanet every Monday morning at 9:30. Any individual member of the board, any single individual member of the board is absolutely invited to attend those meetings. I need to make sure we don't violate the quorum or the open meeting law, so if anybody wishes to attend, just contact me. But it's a standing meeting weekly, and if you have any agenda items or matters you want to discuss directly with the TA, you can feel free to be there. One of the items that we discussed, which we don't need to get into in depth at this moment, maybe until we've really flushed out the issue, is a matter of licensing. And previously, the protocol was that many of our license renewals, including Class 2 and liquor, were being signed by the previous town administrators on behalf of the board. There's a provision for 5 signatures on those renewals. And in addition to that, our administrative staff is having significant problems with some of those renewals in terms of timeliness as far as renewals happening and fees being paid and all the procedures that are delineated on the notices of renewal are not being complied with. So I think it's probably time for us to have a policy discussion. I'll bring it up again when Mrs. Ekstrom is here on both points. One is the signing of renewals, in my opinion, should be done by the board since we are the issuing authority and we're responsible for what happens with that license. And then secondly, with respect to changing our policies or procedures with respect to noticing for renewal. So I just wanted to bring it up briefly. We don't need to vote on anything, or there's no policies that I'm offering or suggesting. And I think that's possibly a part of our vision session type of discussion, which brings me to the next point. I'd like to start those again. The previous chair held several of those. I thought they were productive meetings. We had them usually on Saturday mornings. And the public was obviously invited. They were posted meetings. And I'd like to begin that without any, unless there's any objection, I'll start scheduling those, and we can get into the issue of policy development at that point. That is all I had. Is there any liaison reports, Mrs. Donahue?
It's not exactly a liaison report, Mr. Chairman, but Suzanne Bump from the governor's staff was here, Department of Labor, a week ago, and she was, the meeting was well attended by citizens. She was addressing the budget and the difficult choices in our future that face the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the options that the governor is looking at in terms of reform and combination of reform and state tax, potential state tax increases and fees. There were a number of people there expressing their views. She was looking for community feedback, so I was glad that there were about 25 people in attendance who all offered their opinions on a version of the sales tax or an increase in the income tax, what they felt about property tax and the burden that that might place on the local communities. I made some comments about Wareham in particular and our community in terms of progressive taxes versus non-progressive taxes, regressive taxes, the cuts that are being proposed in the House and what kind of an impact they would have on our community. There is a study out by the Massachusetts Budget and Policy Center that was also put out at the district hearing that Senator Pacheco had. It was, even though the governor and the legislature seem to be at odds on a number of things, I think one thing that they did agree on is the cause of the problem, the extent of the problem, and the number of different options for the problems. So I believe that both presentations, both the one from Suzanne Bump and the one from Senator Pacheco's office, should be put out on our website, and we need to start really educating the general public about what the drastic level of cuts that we're facing on the statewide level, and the impact that it's going to have on our community. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? If nothing else, we are going back into executive session. We had an executive session earlier that we suspended for the purpose of this meeting. So we will be going back into executive and we will not be coming out. With that said, we are adjourned, and I'll poll the board for purposes of going back to executive. Mrs. Donahue?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going into executive. Thank you very much.